Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine.
Hello, dental world, dental listeners. So I think that you probably want a little bit more money in your pocket, and you probably want to make a few more wiser decisions. So I encourage you to keep listening. There's some odd things going on out here. So if you realize here, this is Melissa from Rain Dental Accounts Control, and I have hijacked Ben's podcast.
You know, that's so, good. That's
Ben,
good. That's a much better voice than Jordan and I. You know, the listeners are expecting Jordan and Ben, but today it's a Melissa show. So Melissa, take it away.
Melissa show's on every day.
That's right. Well, thanks for inviting me to your show, Melissa. It's a true honor, and I'm really privileged to be here, and look forward to chatting with you for the next half an hour.
I'll try to keep it at that. I'm always too wordy. I listened to my old podcast, and I was like, oh dear. I hope I really improve.
No, you're fine. As a matter of fact, your podcasts have been the most popular episodes. I'm in the process right now of writing an article about your first episode on reducing time spent on insurance administration, and I was going to reach out to you to get some quotes and include you in that article. So sometime between now and summer of 2018, the world will see that article in the Dental Economics magazine, hopefully, and Melissa and I will co-author that, and stay tuned on that. That's going to be packed full of information, but that all started from you. So thank you for inviting me on your show. It's a real honor to be here today.
One of these days when I grow up and I'm a big girl, I might have my own. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I guess
we
need to first say that Jordan is not here today. So Jordan, a little story with him, and I doubt that he's going to listen to this. So I'm gonna somewhat throw him under the bus. Can I do that, Melissa? Is that fine?
Meep, meep.
So Jordan, a year ago, as most of you probably know, we really put a shot of steroids in his business, and the poor guy was really struggling to find an in with so many different organizations out there, to where I was at a point of bringing him on my team full time, and having BoomCloud part of the Veritas family, and having the service combined. But instead of that, I put him in touch with some key industry leaders, and Jordan is a hard worker. All I did was just point out, this is where you need to go, and he did that. He followed that, started writing more articles, started being featured on a bunch of different podcasts. And then, as a result of working smart and working very hard, the guy starts to make a ton of money, like lots and lots and lots of money. He provides a great service that I fully believe in, but as a result of making lots and lots and lots of money, his philosophy is the same as well as mine. Rather than paying that money to the IRS, let's use it for a quote-unquote retreat. So, you hire your son, your daughter, your wife, and your husband, or whoever it is, and you can go out and talk business and plan business strategies and write it off. I hope the IRS doesn't listen to this, because I'm just really tired of getting audited. But essentially, that's where Jordan's at. He's on another vacation, so. We're not going to apologize for him for being gone, because I know that a lot of you are mad that he gets to take more vacation than we do, but that's where he's at.
Maybe we could call him and, help him with that. Just say, hey, what's going on over there in that part of the world?
You know what?
Wherever you are. And then he could give us feedback, and then write that too.
We probably should. If we have time at the end, we'll do that. We'll give him a call. We'll interfere and interrupt with his vacation and bring him back to the work world.
You'd love us for that, I'm sure.
So today, what are we talking about today? Melissa, I think we're talking about United Concordia, right? I mean, I'm not going to fully disclose exactly where you're at, and part of that is just for privacy purposes, but you're in the heart of military country, right?
I have a few clients all around, and they seem to all be affected with the Tricare contract, which is a good and a bad thing. A little bit of the naughty, bad stuff going on, but not too naughty. But there's been some miscommunications, I think, that is costing the dentist a lot of money. When I ran the numbers, and I'll tell you what's going on in just a second. I ran average numbers, and if a doctor did 30 one-surface fillings and 30 basically of every surface, they could probably be out about $8,600 a month just in adjustments.
Wow.
For one doctor. So think about it. Think of the average practice that does a lot of restorations.
Yeah.
I mean, that number could be anywhere. I'm just saying it's a lot of money. And so what I'm getting to is that I have found a little bit of a the dentist sign a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Tricare contract on page 16 in section 2, it says that the dentist should it's in their participation agreement, that they, hold on, excuse me, I'm stumbling here.
No, you're fine.
They have to abide by the most recent version of the dental reference guide that is published on the provider's landing page on Tricare. So in that dental reference guide, as of today, I double checked it today, on page 32, when it describes posterior composites, it says that they are not covered, but an allowance will be made for an alternate of amalgam, and the patient is responsible to the doctor's fee for all posterior composites.
So not the allowed amount. Like I know that on the United Concordia fee schedule, the DOD it does have listed posterior composites and a fee. So basically, what that says is that the patients they owe the difference between the amalgam downgrade and the office's fees or standard fees.
Correct.
Okay.
The dentist charge, right? And that's how it was a long time ago when United Concordia had the Tricare contract several years ago. So it wasn't a surprise to dentists to read it in their dental reference guide when they were signing their contracts. So that's the way it looks. And that's the way it still looks today, as of today. But that's not the way that they're processing the claims. The patient at this point only owes the difference to the dentist's charge in the event that is 4 surfaces. And by that point, I think the patient probably needed a crown, but to 4 surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And in the handbook, it says more than 3. So it's kind of weird the way they say it. So in essence, it means 4 surfaces. So that 2394 code is the only code as it is now that the patient is held to the doctor's fee. But that is not what it says in the contract that you signed for the providing dentist. So
yeah, that's interesting. So does that rule is that just applicable for in-network practices? I mean, if you're out of network, technically the EOB should reflect the difference between whatever is reimbursed and the doctor's standard fee. But what you're reading is for in-network practices. Is that right?
That's just for yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for in-network, out of network, of course, they can always bill to their fee. And then Tricare doesn't pay anything more to an out-of-network dentist. They only pay that same
allowed
schedule.
amount. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is interesting. So
how do you correct that? Do you normally submit for a correction if you're not a network provider? Excuse me, if you're an in-network provider, and United Concordia is not following that rule that's clearly listed on their own paperwork, how do you fix it?
Well, that has been a difficult task because when you call there, what's happening is the claims people, when they pull up the guide, what they call their guide, it is the patient's version. So there's 2 versions here: the DRG, which is what the dentists are held to, and then there's the dental benefit booklet, which is the patient's. Okay, so they pull up the dental benefit booklet and they'll argue with you tooth and nail. I finally had to say to someone, no, you need to listen to me, follow me. So we did. They followed me through, and they're like, oh. I'm like, uh-huh. So I've been waiting for a phone call from Provider Services since May.
And they haven't called? Oh, geez.
No, they have not. So, well, and they saw where and then I called again recently and just doing some different things for different doctors all over, and just posing a question like, hey, what do you want my providers to do here? they said, well, why don't you just refile the claims? I'm like, okay. So what I would encourage some providers to do is pay attention to that. Go ahead and print off a copy of your DRG, maybe page 32, and also and send that in with your claims, asking them to reprocess them correctly. Now, the problem here is, so a lot of dentists would be like, oh, I just don't want to bill my patients for that. I don't want to upset them that way.
Mm-hmm.
The pretty part here is that I would ask Tricare to pay to your fee. The only reason I'm saying that is because they don't want to punish the patients either. I think they're going to get caught, I think that they would have to pay to the doctor's fee and potentially have to change the DRG, to accommodate, their error. But in the meantime, the dentist signed to the DRG. So I would encourage them to just refile some claims from May 1 forward and see what happens, and just be very kind. Just understand that their claims people are just the messengers. So what you want to do is keep a paper copy, send in your electronic attachment showing your page 32 of your DRG. Let them know on the claim form that it wasn't paid correctly. Reference your claim number that was paid. So you want to put Tricare's claim number on there. Reference that, help them out a little bit so they're not unpacking for everything, so that they can clearly see where the error is.
Yeah. Here's the reason why I think that's important. Can I jump in for just a second, Melissa?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I know
to my show.
Thank you. You're so kind and benevolent. So the reason why I think this is important, whether you choose to collect a higher amount from the patient or not, is totally up to you. But the reason why this is important is it's the data. When insurance carriers look at, especially a government-funded plan, they look at two things. They look at, the most important thing is how much they're paying out in claims. And they obviously want to find ways to reduce that claims payout as much as they can. But because this is the military, they also have an obligation to look at what the out-of-pocket expenses are for the dependents, the families. And so when they look at that utilization data, years and years and years ago, actually back in 2007, when the state of New York started investigating this and sued all insurance carriers that were involved in this whole scam and using an insurance-funded database to come up with UCR definitions. The Ingenix, in my presentations, I talk about a company called Ingenix. If you purchased the fee schedule analysis before 2009, chances are the fee schedule feedback was coming from a company called Ingenix. And Ingenix is a company that's owned by United Healthcare, so big conflict of interest, right? They're telling the dental community and the medical community where you should set your fees. So state of New York investigated, and one of the things that the state of New York looked at is the policies that force patients to pay more money out of pocket, especially when you have to see an out-of-network provider, whether that's a provider of choice or a provider that you have no choice to see because it's a specialist that's the only specialist that practices in that part of the state of New York. New York had a big problem with this, that insurance carriers were forcing patients to come out more out of pocket. So long story short, they sued all the insurance companies. Insurance companies collectively came together and decided to settle out of court, which I think was a big mistake because it didn't end up becoming case law that you could reference over and over and over again when you're suing an insurance company for the same things. But it became a settlement out of court. New York gets $100 million that the insurance carriers collectively paid. They said, we're just going to give you some money to settle this out of court, and then we'll follow whatever guidelines that you give. Well, the state of New York said, well, our guideline is that, number one, we'll create the database to define UCR for every area in the medical industry, including dentistry. And then the other thing is that you all are obligated to follow these standards, as well as find ways to reduce out-of-pocket expenses for patients if they choose to see an out-of-network provider. So what Melissa's talking about, just with that, I think you talked about the posterior composite codes. Whether you choose to collect that higher fee from the patient or not, it's the data that's going to influence changes in dental plans, especially as it pertains to the military. Military people don't get paid a whole lot of money. And so there is an obligation to help them reduce as much out-of-pocket expense as they can. So sorry for sorry for taking long there, Melissa, but go ahead and continue. I think that's a very interesting point. There's a few others that you want to cover, and I'll just shut up and you go ahead and take over.
Okay. No, so this is so for those with a quick pencil, I want you to write this down. These are some references. This is what's going to clear up this whole thing for you if you were to write this down and look at it at your time, and then make the applications to go ahead and start resubmitting some of your claims for clarification. So the first thing is page 16 of your dental contract. That's on section 2. That's the point that I'm looking at. That's what tells you that you have to abide by the DRG, the most recent version. How do you get to the DRG? You go to uccitdp.com, the landing page. You select the Dentist tab, select Forms and Resources. Then you will click on TDP Dental Reference Guide. It's going to ask you to log in. Log in. Then you're going to find on page 32 of the version 3. So you're going to see page 32 and you're going to go to section 13, and that is going to tell you right there about your posterior composite allowance there and how that you should be paid to your fee for those. To reference also, when the Department of Defense has, I think it's a contract over $7 million, I think it's the number, you have to make that public record. So if you wanted to see the DoD contract, you could go to www.fbo.gov, and then you should be able to look up the contract that Tricare has with United Concordia. And that just states in there how they're going to serve the population there of all the TDP family members. So it's really important that you read these things and that you ask them to stick to it. There's nothing wrong with that. I would, as a whole, some of my offices have been really worried about having to go back to all the old claims. I would start with the first month, and you're only going to be refiling the ones for the posterior composites, and then go month to month after that. I wouldn't invest in an enormous amount of time doing the entire 6 months all at one time, but I would keep a copy of all of the claims, paper, please. I know some people don't want paper, but there may be a time where you have to send them all in to one spot. So if you have it all done now, if they do ask you to send them all in by paper, fax, whichever, that, because it could go to appeals, or you have to send it to their appeals company, DHA or something like that, I think it's called. But anyways, you just want to keep those all together so you have it all done and it's ready to go when it needs to go. So that'd be great. The second thing is I have noticed, as Tricare is not exactly, and you know what, I don't want to say they're alone at this. I think I'm going to stop myself and tell you, offices, when you have a patient with a secondary plan, I would ask for a copy of their benefit booklet. And this is the reason why. And you might be rolling your eyes at me. Since I've been doing this in the last 2 months, out of the 7 people who gave that I thought there was an issue, I asked them for their copy of their benefit booklet. Out of those 7 people, 5 of those people, I have found that their companies were not coordinating benefits according to what was in their patient booklet. So, and if I had not been paying attention, we would have been writing off a lot more money. So, it's very important that you ask for those, I'm finding. And kind of kicking my tail, I hadn't done that sooner.
Isn't it interesting that it never really occurred to me that asking for the benefit booklet would be important, especially for coordination of benefits. It's interesting to me that the insurance industry, they write an employer policy one way, and then the way they administer it is completely different. And I'm going to completely throw Cigna under the bus because Cigna throws me under the bus. They publicly come out and tell everybody that I'm the devil. Nobody ever believes that because they know who I am, but maybe some people do. But anyway, Cigna writes this policy for an employer group that I'm aware of here in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a very large dental employer group that many of you will recognize. So I helped this group come up with a benefits package, and in their mind was, this is self-funded, So what we want to do is create a benefits package that makes sense for the patient and for the dentist. For instance, if a dentist feels like a patient needs four quads of scaling and root planing in one day, what clinical reason do we have to prevent them from doing that? Which is Cigna's standard policy, is that you can't do them all on one day. You got to separate them out. And then the other stupid policies, such as taking a panel and panel and 4 bite wings. You do that on the same day, it doesn't get, it gets downgraded to an FMX. But if you separate them out and do them on 2 different days, they both get covered separately. And so myself and a few of the dentists that own this organization thought those things are just completely ridiculous. In the end, the doctor should have full control over what they perform on the patient on that day of service, and whatever they choose to bill, we're going to ask Cigna to cover it. So here we are, we're designing this awesome dental plan. We provided a fee schedule that, in our opinion, better paid for services that we were hoping doctors were making good decisions on the care, and that the fee schedule was sufficient to cover quality care. Several months into this, one of the dentist owners, participating with Cigna, of course, the office manager is paying attention to this like a hawk, comes back and scaling and root planing is being denied. And the reason why is because it says that they're not covered on the same, 2 or more are not covered on the same day of service. We call Cigna and say, actually, the policy that we wrote for you for this particular dental plan stipulates that if a dentist chooses to do those on all 4 quads on the same day, that we agreed as the employer to pay for this. And they put up a stink. We went through several layers of provider relations till finally we got picked up the phone and called the sales rep that helped us put this entire thing together. And then it got solved. And it just really pisses me off that an employer would pay for something in the form of dental insurance, but insurance carriers redefine it on their end, primarily for the sake of them saving money. But in a situation like this, for these particular patients where scaling and root planing was being denied, well, who's going to be responsible for that bill in the end? The patient is.
Right.
There's no sense of having insurance if insurance is going to completely deny services for you. But that's what we're seeing nationwide, the trend in terms of policy manuals not being followed by insurance carriers as it pertains to claims processing.
Absolutely. So,
go ahead.
Oh yeah. So what I've been finding is it's almost like their claims, like their software, they're on their end. It's almost like it doesn't read it, and there's some of their definitions of standard is going to vary, and I think that has to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, I'm just making a wild guess here, but like for instance, New Jersey. So we had a company that was just had a plan for New Jersey, and it was Aetna, and they COB'd really weird, and so I of course went to New Jersey's website, and their definition of standard COB is much, much different than the National Insurance Commissioner's model.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently New Jersey has not adapted all of the NAIC's model. So that was a real growling effect for me. But they could not even, they reworked her coordination of benefits 4 times on the phone with me. Not one person could get it right. I knew the answer. And so I'm like, you're not right. There's no way you can bill the patient. They were trying to bill the patient between the 2 allowance tables.
Wow.
So they were getting the benefit of the lower allowable, and they were billing the patient for the difference.
Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to do that. I'm like, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do it. And I know you can't do it. And I'm like, so now we're up to like, I just want them to, and I said, let me see what you see on your side. How do you see this? And like, well, what happens is it goes into this claim queue, and it processes it as its standard, and then if it's not, then it goes off. Someone else is supposed to okay it, like visually see it. I'm like, okay, well, whoever visually sees it doesn't know what's going on. And that's what happened on the other 4 companies as well, is that when they got it on their end, their systems can't do it, the math. So they have this, and even the person doing it can't do the math. And so I am asking, again, all listeners, write your pencils down, and you will want to ask your legislators to bring up the Dental Fairness Act and to vote heavy yes on some of these new legislations that are coming available that will really help. It will streamline coordination of benefits
Yeah.
and non-covered benefits as well, and make their ERISA plans and all those kinds of things all have to coordinate and accept all the same things, because this state by state stuff, it's hard on patients and it's really hard on dentists. Plus, it will help with assignment of benefits as well.
Yeah. Is that what it's called, the Dental Fairness Act? I know that the ADA was working on that. Is that the one?
There's a couple. I wrote it down on my phone. The 113th Congress, they called it the Dental Fairness Act. I can look up the bills in a little bit and tell you.
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm on a tour with our local Utah Dental Association. Our leadership is so awesome here locally that, these are things that we're focusing on here in the state. And I heard that the ADA had a law, or at least a bill that was on Mitch McConnell's desk. And I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it was along the lines of what you were talking about, a Dental Fairness Act, to really streamline things, get rid of some of the things that are mentioned in the ERISA laws, especially as it pertains to non-covered services. There are more than 40 states that have passed a non-covered service law, but if it's a patient that has a federal plan, they're exempt from those rules, which is completely ridiculous, by the way. But the other thing that we're finding, and something that we're trying to start creating a statewide advocacy effort using the insurance commissioner in a big way, to get insurance carriers to follow how they process benefits the way it's actually written in the patient's policy manual. So if you are located in the state of Utah and you're having issues like what Melissa's talking about, send me an email. Check out the email on the very bottom of the show notes. Send me an email just so that I'm aware of the issues and put you in our group of advocacy. What our goal is to create at least a working relationship with the state, the local associations, and as soon as they're endorsed by the ADA, that'll be great. But for the most part, we're getting all of the association members of every different type of association to take their issues up to the insurance commissioner. And the one that you just mentioned, Melissa, about coordination of benefits not following the patient's manual or the policy booklet, we've been very successful getting the insurance commissioner to rule in favor of the dental practices that are fighting and challenging these issues. So we're only starting here in Utah. So if you're in Utah, send us your issues and we'll put you in the advocacy pool. But what are some of the other things that you're seeing on the United Concordia side that are of interest, or what the listeners should know about?
Okay, so I was getting to is that they're not, as of what I'm seeing for 5 different providers, is that they were not coordinating benefits correctly as a secondary. So if you're, let's say, for instance, you're out of network, just for math reasons here, that how they describe that in the patient's booklet, if you were to pull the patient's booklet, that's going to be on page 53 and 54 of the patient's dental program benefit booklet, and it states the payment as secondary will not exceed the provider's charge. The key word is the provider's charge. Normally, it's their allowable or something like that. This is so different. Provider's charge, or the amount TDP would have paid as primary, whichever is less. Total payments for service by primary and secondary, etc., will not exceed dentist charge, which is sort of standard. But the math is, if you are, let's say you're a dentist here and your charge is $35 for an exam, the covered expense by the primary was $28, so therefore they paid $28. Tricare's came back as a secondary, and their covered expense was $30, and they issue a payment of $7. Okay, so now the dentist collected his whole fee. What was happening, and has been happening to several of the people, and then friends, or that the EOBs are coming back saying, hey, we're not paying anything because the primary already paid. Well, that's not how their coordination of benefits describes the payment.
Right.
So you have to ask them to reconfigure that. The second scenario, as in their booklet, let's just say it's a filling. $95 is the dentist charge. The payable amount from the primary is $64. Tricare gets as a secondary, they should issue a payment for $31. This is all inside their booklet. So basically the doctor is able to collect all the way up to his full fee, which is That's NAIC's model anyways, that the doctor could collect to the higher allowable. But Tricare specifically says they won't accept the provider's charge. They consider the provider's charge, which is very thoughtful because not a lot of companies do that. And they'll subtract what the primary is paid. If their payment is lower or it's not going to exceed, then they'll pay their full payment. And so oftentimes it's a lot less of adjustment to the provider, which helps offset some things, and the patient as well. So it's really important that you pull those. And if your secondary payments have not been paid correctly per that COB model that's in their booklet, then just kindly ask for them to redo it. But send copies, I would, of page 53 and 54 so they understand the scenarios, because every time I've called, they don't understand. But again, this goes back to, I don't think that their software is set up correctly on their end to process the claims. So the claims people they act like you're crazy. And then until you show it to them, and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yes, oh, big O.
I wonder if this same rule of thumb can be applied to other insurance plans. What do you think there?
I think it'd be great, and I really hope that these bills can go through.
Researching all these plan designs and stuff is very tedious, and I'm thinking that it might be something even for us as a podcast organization to start collecting that data and making it available to the public. So I think that's one of our checklist items for this year and next year, is to see if we can perhaps get some policy manual data by employer group and make a listing somewhere somehow. Anyway, I'm going to focus on that to see if I can take that project. That is a huge project. You're talking about millions of employers out there, but in the end, it's kind of like, what is that gas application, Gas Buddy, that I use, where if you're a Gas Buddy user, you can go in, and if the price of gas or diesel is not the same as it's listed in Gas Buddy, you can go and edit it. And so I've actually been in communication with some software developers to see if we can come up with a tool where people can edit, like Wikipedia. You go in there, the insurance company, the employer profile, you can search for them. If they're not there, you can enter them as a new employer group. But then you can enter the information or download copies of the policy manual, the booklet that the patients receive, or at least the key pages, and upload it there. So hopefully within the next,
that'd be so fantastic.
Hopefully within the next 6 months, we'll have something like that we'll put up to help streamline things for offices. So that's something that we're doing as a public service, as a podcast. But I know there's one other thing that you want to get into, Melissa, about United Concordia, this whole Tricare issue.
Oh, yes.
So it's regarding the out-of-network side of things. So you have clients that are out-of-network with United Concordia, and you stumbled across something in the United Concordia booklet on their website. Can you go into that in some detail?
It's actually on the Department of Defense's contract. So it is in section... It's in section, I think, C.3.3.2. But anyways, I copied and pasted it. I'll read it off to you. So basically it states that if a patient cannot find an in-network dentist in their area, then they're supposed to call this phone number and they will assign them a dentist. But that dentist has to be within 15 miles of their home and within 21 days for a non-emergency visit. So more providers are leaving, so it's becoming a bit difficult for the patients to find an in-network dentist. And they think they have to see someone. And they think they have to wait. But you don't. I know some of these patients, they're booked out. They can't get a regular appointment to see a dentist for like 4 or 5 months. Well, that's well beyond their terms. So, I'll give them a phone number. I said, call there, and then you'll be able to see any dentist you want, but they'll have to put that reference number on their claim and send that off to Tricare. That's how it's been described to me. But per the booklet, what it says here, it says when there's, so where I'm getting to this, folks, is I don't want to lose you, is I've had patients or people and just different from all over say, what happens if there's no providers in my area? They're really concerned, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pay all this money and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's not what's going to happen. They're very kind, lenient here. What they say in the DoD contract with United Concordia is when there's more than 25% or more than 200 enrollees in one specific 5-digit zip code area are unable to obtain a periodic or initial non-emergency dental exam appointment with a network provider that meets the access standards, the DHA, which is their what DHA stood for, excuse me. But anyways, Tricare will designate that area as non-compliant, and so then the patients will be able to see whomever they would like, but per their contract in protecting their patients, the patients will not have to pay any more than is if they saw it in the network provider. So if there's no providers in your area, they've done this very cool thing where they're watching out for you, and you don't have to pay any more than you would have if you saw an in-network dentist. And then I think that they're just paying the out-of-network, or if that area was out-of-network or whatever, they're just paid to the doctor's charges. The doctors wouldn't have to write it off because technically it would be non-covered or out of non-provider area. So, don't worry about that if there's no dentist in your area, that Tricare would take care of you that way. But,
Yeah. So the key takeaway with that point is that, number one, if there are no participating providers in the area, the patients, when they go through that whole process of finding a provider, they don't pay any more than what they would have paid at an in-network dentist. Did I get that point correct?
Yeah, that's what it says in the contract.
And then the dentist, on the other hand, when they bill United Concordia as a non-participating provider, they get a higher payment, correct?
Correct. They're going to get paid. They'll be able to obtain payment from both the patient and Tricare to their fee.
Okay. And so what is a qualification for that area? How many does it list there? I think you mentioned it before. How many providers have to be non-par in order for this to occur?
It doesn't say that. What it says is that when 25% or more than 200 enrollees in a zip code are unable to obtain a visit with a dentist,
that's in network,
in the time, within 21 days or 15 miles of their home, then they give them a reference number. Once reference numbers have been assigned to 200 enrollees or 25%, whichever is less, then the area becomes non-compliant until more providers come in and they're able to meet the needs.
So that's amazing news. And so our role is not to encourage a massive boycott with this podcast, but just to share with you information. Now, the ADA, as I'm traveling with the UDA, Utah Dental Association, across the state of Utah, they produced a report that was done, and I need to find it and post it on the show notes, and I will. Essentially was a report that that was trying to find the cause for why insurance reimbursements are coming down, why they're being reduced in many states. So some of the top states where PPO reimbursements are coming down were New York, New Jersey, California. Utah's in that mix too. Over the last 10 years in Utah, reimbursement rates have come down on average 16%. Well, the state that has it the best is Montana. Montana's reimbursements have gone up during the same period in the opposite direction, have gone up 16%. So here in Utah, down 16%, Montana up 16%. The reason why, the one factor why that was happening, the reason why states are coming down in reimbursements, and the reason why Montana continues to rise with inflation on how they get paid, is simply because Montana, doctors don't participate. Very few participate with insurance. Utah, more than 90% of dentists participate with insurance. New York, nearly 99% of doctors participate with insurance. So when you're participating with an insurance plan, you're endorsing all the abuse that they give you. You're endorsing their fee schedule. You're giving them an opportunity to sell their program, but you're essentially accepting all the terms and conditions as it pertains to how you're currently dealing with them. So with what Melissa just discovered here, and the reason why I thought it was very, very important for me to be a guest on her episode today is simply because the out-of-network standards hold true. When doctors are out-of-network, the majority of the doctors are out-of-network in any given community, the reimbursement rates start to come up. And the reason why I like what Melissa's sharing is that with the DoD contract for military dependents is that they don't incur any more out-of-pocket expense. So
Yeah.
however you want to use that information, if you want to investigate it further, we'll post all of the information on the show notes. But if you want to further investigate this or have discussions with us, with Melissa, myself, or others, we're happy to do so. But just so you know, we won't do it as a collective boycotting effort because it's against the law. So, but if you do decide to take action on your own in terms of your own individual practice, by all means, we'll share the data and information with you. Melissa, anything else? Any other thoughts about this whole United Concordia debacle?
I'm hoping that it pans out for the dentist who signed, and I'm hoping that it also pans out for the patients. So, and you know, I always just tell dentists, make sure you read your contracts and make sure you know exactly what you're signing up for. PPOs don't have to be a bunch of bad thing, which I know kind of goes against your thing here, but at the same time, you also don't want to lose your practice. As dentists are small business owners, and you can't just be afraid that you're going to miss out on the patients just by if you don't sign. So when you do sign, be real cautious about what's in those contracts. And more power to you. If you guys need to access me, I am at Rain Dental. Hold on, I took my new email. Excuse me. I gotta go. Let's see where I'm at, folks.
I do that all the time. Where do you live, Ben? In Lehigh. What's your address? I have no idea. I know how to get there. I don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
Not good if I need to call 911, but.
Right, I know. I know. Okay, so I'm at Reign, REIGN, Dental Control at protonmail.com. And I use Proton Mail because it is one of the highest rated encrypted email places. So, but you don't have to have a login. You can just send me an email, so don't worry about all that mess. So it's Reign Dental Control at protonmail.com, and I'd be happy to share anything that I have with you and help you on your way, and hopefully we can all get the same response. Excellent.
Well, thanks so much, Melissa. I guess we'll post those in the show notes as well, including any other information that Melissa has shared. But folks, well, I should say, Melissa, thanks for having us on your program today. Really appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening, check out the show notes for more information. But as we sign off today, we just want to wish everybody the very best and hope this information was very helpful. Again, Melissa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.